The station's artificial light sparkled off the polished metal walls as Ambassador Kim stepped through the airlock. She paused, taking a deep breath to steady herself. This moment would go down in history books. The first human to enter the galactic diplomatic hub. Kim wore the official Earth uniform, a blue suit with silver trim and the planet's emblem on her chest. She carried a small case containing Earth's diplomatic credentials and cultural offerings. Behind her, two assistants pushed carts loaded with covered containers. "Ambassador Kim of Earth, welcome," said the hub director, a tall being with translucent skin that revealed pulsing blue veins. "I am Director Joe. We have prepared your cultural exchange booth as requested." Kim bowed slightly. "Thank you for accommodating us. Earth is honored to join the galactic community." As they walked through the station's main concourse, Kim noticed the stares from representatives of at least 20 different species. Some looked curious, others concerned, but the group that caught her attention stood apart from the rest. Large, muscular beings with gray-blue scaled skin and prominent ridges along their heads. "The Door delegation," Director Joe explained, following her gaze. "They are skeptical of new species, especially ones without historical records in our databases." Kim nodded. "We'll win them over." The Earth booth was positioned between the Nilarian crystal displays and the Vosh Botanical Garden. Kim's assistants began unpacking their carts, revealing colorful posters of Earth landscapes, samples of art, music players, and most importantly, a specialized cooling unit. "What is that device?" asked Director Joe. Kim smiled. "A freezer for one of our cultural delicacies, ice cream." By the station's artificial evening, Earth's booth was ready. Kim personally arranged the small cups of ice cream in neat rows within the freezer. Chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, and other flavors representing Earth's diversity. The opening ceremony for new member booths drew a crowd. Various species wandered through, examining Earth's offerings with varying degrees of interest. Kim explained Earth history, answered questions about human biology, and offered small samples of safe human foods. The Door delegation avoided the Earth booth entirely. "They'll come around," Kim told her assistants. "Diplomacy takes time." Later that night, after most delegates had retired to their quarters, a solitary figure approached the Earth booth. It was a Door warrior, larger than the others Kim had seen earlier. His scales caught the dim night lighting, and the station floor vibrated slightly with each heavy step. He stopped at the edge of the booth, looking around to confirm he was alone. Kim watched through the security feed from her quarters, curious but unwilling to intervene. The Door warrior examined the Earth displays methodically, occasionally touching an item with surprising gentleness for his size. When he reached the freezer, he hesitated before opening it. The cold mist escaped into the air as he stared at the colorful cups inside. With one clawed finger, he carefully lifted a cup of vanilla ice cream. He studied it, turning it in his massive hand. Then, using a single claw, he scooped a tiny amount and, after a moment's hesitation, brought it to his mouth. The effect was immediate and startling. The warrior's scales rippled with color, changing from gray-blue to a vibrant purple-blue pattern. His eyes widened, and a low rumbling sound escaped his throat. He quickly took another taste, then another. His breathing pattern changed, and Kim could see the warrior's normally rigid posture relaxing. The next morning, Kim arrived at the booth to find the same Door warrior waiting. "I am Commander Park of the Door Confederation," he said formally. "I wish to discuss your white cold substance." Kim smiled. "Ice cream, a traditional Earth dessert. Its effects are unusual." Park's voice was deep and gravelly. "What is its purpose?" "Pleasure," Kim said simply. "It's just something humans enjoy eating." Park's eyes narrowed. "It produces sensations of happiness." "Yes, most foods humans enjoy trigger pleasure responses in our brains. Is that unusual?" "For the Door, yes." Park seemed uncomfortable with this admission. "Our nutrition is functional. We do not experience pleasure from sustenance." Kim gestured to the freezer. Would you like to try another flavor? Park looked around, confirming no other door were watching, then nodded once. Kim opened the freezer and selected a chocolate cup. This is one of our most popular flavors. Park accepted the small cup, his massive hand making it look tiny. This time he used the provided spoon, taking a small bite. His scales immediately shifted colors again, even more dramatically than before. This is stronger, he rumbled. His claws tightened slightly, denting the cup. Chocolate contains compounds that can enhance mood in humans, Kim explained. It seems to affect your species similarly. Park finished the ice cream in 2 more quick bites. This information is significant. I must report this to my delegation. Of course. We're happy to share our cultural foods with all species, as long as they're not harmful. Park stood straighter. I will return tomorrow for further cultural exchange. After Park left, Kim's assistant approached. Was that wise? The Door have a reputation for aggression. Kim smiled. Sometimes the quickest path to diplomacy isn't through formal talks, but through shared experiences. The Door just discovered something pleasurable from Earth culture. That's a connection we can build on. What Kim didn't know then was how important the connection would become. By the end of the day, 3 more Door warriors had visited the booth requesting cultural exchange samples. Each had the same powerful reaction to the ice cream. That night, Park returned again. This time, he wasn't alone. A smaller Door, wearing the insignia of a scientific officer, accompanied him. Ambassador Kim, Park said formally. This is Scientist Han. She wishes to understand the composition of ice cream for safety analysis. Kim recognized the excuse for what it was. The Door wanted to understand why ice cream affected them so strongly. She smiled warmly at both of them. I'd be happy to share our recipes and the science behind ice cream. Perhaps we could arrange a proper cultural exchange meeting tomorrow. Park and Han exchanged looks. That would be acceptable, Park finally said. As they left, Kim couldn't help but smile. Earth's first real connection in the galactic community had been established not through politics or power, but through a simple dessert. Sometimes, diplomacy was indeed sweeter than expected. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council was called only 3 days after Earth's arrival at the diplomatic station. Kim sat alone at the human delegate table, facing representatives from 12 species arranged in a semicircle. The Door delegation, led by Senior Ambassador Jun, occupied the largest section. The Council recognizes the Door Confederation, announced Director Zhou from the central podium. Ambassador Jun rose to his full height, his scales a deep, angry red. The Door Confederation formally accuses Earth of introducing a chemical agent designed to influence Door judgment and behavior. Murmurs spread through the chamber as Kim maintained her composure. This substance, Jun continued, holding up a small cup of melted ice cream, creates intense pleasure responses in Door physiology. It has affected 27 warriors in our delegation. Commander Park, one of our most decorated officers, has visited the Earth booth 12 times in 3 days. Kim waited until she was recognized to speak. The substance is called ice cream. It is simply frozen cream, sugar, and flavoring. It's a dessert, not a weapon or mind control agent. Then why does it affect our people so strongly? Demanded Jun. Our scientists analyzed it and found no known intoxicants or psychoactive compounds. I can't explain your biology, Kim replied calmly. But I can assure you, ice cream has been consumed by humans for centuries with no harmful effects. Han, the Door scientist who had visited with Park earlier, stood without being recognized. The effects on Door biology are undeniable. 3 warriors failed to report for duty yesterday. They were found at the Earth booth. Director Zhou looked troubled. Ambassador Kim, would you consent to removing this ice cream from your cultural display until we understand its effects better? Before Kim could answer, the doors to the chamber slid open. Commander Park entered, his scales shifting between blue and purple hues. He walked directly to the center of the chamber. I wish to speak, he announced. Ambassador Jun hissed. Commander, you were ordered to remain in quarters. I cannot remain silent while you misrepresent facts, Park replied. He turned to face the council. I have consumed this ice cream multiple times. It creates pleasure, yes, but my mind remains my own. My judgment is unimpaired. Your behavior suggests otherwise, countered Jun. You have neglected duties to obtain more of this substance. Because it is new and interesting, Park argued, not because I am controlled. The council chamber erupted in overlapping discussions. Director Joe finally restored order. Ambassador Kim, would you be willing to share the complete composition of ice cream with the council's medical team? Joe asked. Of course, Kim agreed. Earth has nothing to hide. After the meeting, Kim returned to her quarters to find a message waiting. It requested a private meeting in the station's botanical garden at the start of the night cycle. The message was unsigned, but Kim suspected its source. The garden was dimly lit when Kim arrived, simulating Earth twilight. Between tall alien plants, she spotted the massive form of Commander Park. Thank you for coming, he said quietly as she approached. I apologize for the secrecy. It's understandable given the circumstances, Kim replied. Are you well? Park's scales rippled. I am. Confused. The pleasure from your ice cream is unlike anything in door experience. My superiors believe this makes it dangerous. Is pleasure dangerous to the door? Park turned to look at a flowering plant. Our society values strength, discipline, and control. Pleasure for its own sake is considered weakness. Kim nodded. Many human cultures have struggled with similar views throughout our history. How do humans resolve this conflict? We learned that pleasure isn't the opposite of discipline, Kim explained. It's part of a balanced life. Enjoyment of food, art, music. These things don't make us weak. They give us something worth fighting for. Park considered this an interesting perspective. He hesitated. There is something else you should know. Ambassador Jun has ordered tests of ice cream on captive animals from our world. He seeks to prove it is harmful. Kim frowned. That seems extreme for a dessert. The door are suspicious by nature, especially of things we don't understand. Park's voice lowered. Some believe humans designed ice cream specifically to affect door biology. That's impossible. We had no knowledge of door existence until we arrived here. Logic doesn't always prevail over fear, Park said. I came to warn you. Be careful. Their conversation was interrupted by a soft chime from Park's communication device. He checked it, and his scales darkened. I must go. Security is conducting a check of all door quarters. He paused. Ambassador Kim, I believe you when you say ice cream is just food, but others will need more convincing. After Park left, Kim stayed in the garden, thinking. The situation was escalating beyond reasonable proportions. She needed to understand why ice cream affected the door so dramatically. The next morning, Kim found Han waiting outside the Earth booth before opening hours. Scientist Han. Kim greeted her with surprise. How can I help you? Han glanced around nervously. I should not be here. Ambassador Jun has forbidden all door from communicating with humans without supervision. Yet here you are. Because science matters more than politics, Han said firmly. I have been analyzing ice cream samples. There is something you should know. Kim invited Han inside the booth. The scientist placed a data pad on the counter. Door evolved as apex predators on a planet with few sweet foods, Han explained. Our bodies developed intense reward responses to rare sugar sources. What gives humans mild pleasure overwhelms door neurochemistry. Kim studied the comparative brain scans on the pad. So it's not the ice cream itself, but your biological response to it. Exactly. Han's scales flickered with excitement. It's not a weapon or mind control, just evolutionary biology. Will Ambassador Jun accept this explanation? Han's scales darkened. He does not wish to. There are political considerations. What do you mean? Some door leaders see humans as potential rivals. Your adaptability concerns them. Finding biological weakness in your food would justify limiting human expansion. Kim frowned. So this isn't about ice cream at all. Not entirely, Han admitted. But I believe truth matters. Commander Park agrees. Is he in trouble for defending us? Yes, he faces disciplinary action. Han moved toward the door. I must go before I am missed. But know this, not all doors share Ambassador Jun's views. After Han left, Kim contacted Director Joe, requesting an emergency private meeting. This misunderstanding needed to be resolved before it damaged relations beyond repair. As she prepared her evidence, Kim wondered if a simple dessert would become the catalyst for humanity's first interstellar conflict, or perhaps its first true alliance. The large conference room buzzed with representatives from every species as Director Joe stood at the center podium. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. After careful consideration, Director Joe announced, the Galactic Council proposes a series of challenges to evaluate human capabilities and intentions. This will address concerns raised by several delegations. Kim sat straight in her chair, feeling the weight of all eyes upon her. From across the room, she spotted Commander Park, his scales a muted blue-gray. He stood rigid among his fellow Dor, but his eyes met hers briefly before looking away. Ambassador Kim, does Earth accept this proposal? Director Joe asked. Kim rose. Earth welcomes the opportunity to demonstrate our peaceful intentions through these challenges. Ambassador Jun made a dismissive sound. Humans are physically inferior. These tests will reveal their true limitations. The first challenge began the following day in the station's central arena. Representatives from 6 species, including Kim for Earth and a Dor warrior named Sung for the Dor Confederation, gathered at the starting line of what appeared to be an obstacle course. This challenge tests physical capability and problem-solving, explained Director Joe. Participants must reach the end by overcoming 12 obstacles designed to be difficult for all species. Kim surveyed the course. Climbing walls, narrow beams over deep pits, and hanging ropes stretched before her. The Dor representative, Sung, towered over her, his muscular body clearly built for strength. The other competitors, a 6-limbed Vosh, a gelatinous Nilarian, an insectoid Trill, and a reptilian Han, each had their own physical advantages. The signal sounded, and they were off. The Dor warrior immediately took the lead, scaling the first wall with ease. Kim followed a different strategy. Where Sung used brute strength, she used technique and flexibility. On the third obstacle, a complex rope maze, Kim's smaller size became an advantage as she navigated through gaps too narrow for the larger competitors. From the observation deck, Commander Park watched with growing interest. The human moves differently, he commented to Han, who stood beside him despite Jun's orders to avoid other Dor who had shown interest in human culture. She adapts to each obstacle, Han noted. See how she studies each challenge before attempting it. By the halfway point, Kim had moved into 3rd position, behind Sung and the Vosh. The course grew more difficult, with obstacles requiring not just physical strength but careful thought. At Obstacle 9, a series of platforms that moved unpredictably, Sung made a critical error, jumping too quickly and missing his landing. He fell into the safety nets below, effectively eliminating himself. Kim paused at the edge of her platform, watching the patterns. When she moved, it was with calculated precision, timing each jump perfectly. She passed the Vosh, who was struggling with the unpredictability. Ambassador Jun's scales darkened with anger. This is unacceptable. Humans are physically weaker. How is she succeeding? To everyone's surprise, Kim finished first, followed by the Trill and then the Vosh. Sung came in 5th, his scales dark with embarrassment. An impressive display of problem-solving. Director Joe announced, while not the strongest competitor, Ambassador Kim demonstrated excellent analysis and adaptation. The second challenge took place the following day. This time, it was a test of knowledge and learning speed. Participants were given information about an unknown theoretical system and had to solve increasingly complex problems related to it. Here, Kim truly shone. Her ability to recognize patterns and apply new knowledge allowed her to complete the challenge in record time. Even the Nilarians, known for their computational minds, seemed impressed. Humans appear to learn quickly, commented a Han representative to Ambassador June. Perhaps more quickly than we anticipated. June's response was cut short when Commander Park approached Kim after the challenge. Your performance was unexpected, Park said, keeping a formal distance between them. Kim smiled. Humans might not be the strongest or fastest, but we adapt. It's our greatest strength. Ambassador June believes adaptation is dangerous. Unpredictable. Life is unpredictable, Kim replied. Adaptation is how we survive. Park seemed to consider this. There is a third challenge tomorrow. Endurance. It will not favor your physiology. Thank you for the warning, Commander. But I'm not trying to win every challenge, just to show who humans truly are. The endurance test proved brutal. Participants were required to maintain physical exertion while subjected to changing environmental conditions. As predicted, Kim couldn't match the physical stamina of the door or the environmental adaptability of the Vosh. Yet she surprised everyone by continuing long after the Han and Nilarian representatives had withdrawn. When she finally reached her limit, she accepted defeat with dignity, bowing respectfully to the remaining competitors. The human chose spirit, if not strength, commented one of the council members. That evening, an unexpected visitor arrived at the Earth booth. Scientist Han entered quietly, looking around nervously. I should not be here, she said, but I have information you should know. Kim gestured to a private corner of the booth. What is it? I've completed my analysis of why ice cream affects doors so powerfully. Han activated a small holographic display. Our ancestors evolved on a planet with few sweet foods. When they found them, it signaled rare, high-energy nutrition. Our brains developed powerful reward systems for sweetness. So ice cream triggers an evolutionary response. Exactly. It's not a weapon, just biology. I've tried to explain this to Ambassador June, but he refuses to listen. Han's scales flickered with frustration. He and others see humans as a threat to door dominance in the military council. And Commander Park, where does he stand? His position is complicated. He believes you are honest about ice cream. But his loyalty to the Confederation is absolute. Han deactivated the display. The final challenge tomorrow is cultural exchange. Each species must present something that represents their core values. Thank you for the information, Kim said, and for taking this risk to share it. After Han left, Kim sat alone, thinking. The final challenge might be the most important. She needed to show not just human capability, but human values. The cultural exchange challenge began the next morning. Each species displayed artifacts, art, or performances they felt represented their civilization. The door presentation focused on military achievement and conquest. The Han emphasized trade and prosperity. The Vosh presented complex ecological systems. When Kim's turn came, she unveiled her display. A table set with different foods from Earth cultures, a collection of music and art, and finally, a small freezer. Earth is diverse, she explained. We have thousands of cultures, languages, and traditions, but what unites us is our ability to find joy in our differences. She opened the freezer, including in our food. Gasps echoed through the chamber as she revealed ice cream, not just vanilla and chocolate, but dozens of flavors from around Earth. I understand now why ice cream affects the door so strongly, Kim continued. It's not a weapon or a tool for control. It's simply something humans created for enjoyment that, due to door biology, affects your people differently. She looked directly at Ambassador June. With this knowledge, I formally offer to withdraw ice cream from the station if the Council deems it necessary. Earth seeks friendship, not influence through biological reactions. Her sincerity caught everyone by surprise, especially June, who had prepared arguments against human manipulation. From his position among the door delegation, Commander Park stepped forward. "I have experienced this ice cream. It brings pleasure, yes, but it has not changed my loyalty or judgment." He turned to face June. "Perhaps what we fear is not the humans, but our own response to something new and different." The chamber fell silent as the two doors faced each other. In that moment, the competition's true purpose became clear. It wasn't about proving human worth. It was about understanding human nature. Kim couldn't sleep. The day's events kept replaying in her mind, especially Commander Park's unexpected defense of humans at the Cultural Exchange Challenge. She got up and decided to review the station's public records, hoping to better understand the complex politics at play. The station's archive room was empty at this late hour. Kim sat at a terminal and began searching for information about relations between the various species. As she dug deeper into trade agreements and diplomatic incidents, something strange caught her attention. A pattern of conflicts that always seemed to benefit one species, the Han. "That's odd," she muttered, pulling up more files. The terminal suddenly flashed, displaying a warning about accessing restricted sections. Kim hadn't requested any restricted information. She tried to back out, but the screen froze, then displayed a series of encrypted files that shouldn't have been visible to her clearance level. Before she could react, the files began downloading to her datapad without her command. The terminal then reset itself as if nothing had happened. Kim stared at her datapad. It now contained dozens of files with Han encryption. She should report this immediately, but something held her back. This was too convenient, almost as if someone wanted her to find these files. A soft sound made her turn. She wasn't alone after all. "I wondered if you would discover it," said Scientist Han, stepping from the shadows. "The Han delegation has been manipulating station records for months." Kim tensed. "How did you know I'd be here?" "I didn't. I come here often to continue my own investigation." Han approached slowly. "The files on your pad are trade records. Specifically, Han trade with the Door Confederation. I can't read them. They're encrypted." Han extended a small device. "This will decode them, but be careful where you view the contents." Kim accepted the device cautiously. "Why are you helping me?" "Because the Door-human conflict benefits the Han merchants. They fear what would happen if our species cooperated." Han's scales flickered with emotion. The ice cream incident was convenient for them. Kim's eyes widened. "Are you suggesting they engineered the whole situation?" "Not entirely. Our biological response to sweet foods is real, but the Han knew about it before humans arrived. They'd been studying potential weaknesses of all species." Han moved toward the door. "Check the trade dates. The Han increased military shipments to the Door Confederation immediately after Earth joined the Council." After Han left, Kim returned to her quarters and decoded the files. What she found shocked her. The Han had been supplying weapons to the Door while simultaneously selling information about Door military capabilities to other species. They were playing all sides. More disturbing were communications suggesting the Han had anticipated the Door reaction to human foods and had plans ready to exploit the resulting tension. Kim needed to share this information, but who could she trust? Director Joe might be compromised. The council was divided. There was only one person who had shown integrity throughout this situation. She sent a secure message to Commander Park requesting an urgent meeting. They met in a maintenance section of the station where surveillance was minimal. Park arrived alone, his posture tense. "What you've discovered is dangerous," Park said after reviewing the files. "Ambassador June receives personal payments from Han merchants. Many Door leaders do." "This goes beyond normal trade," Kim replied. "The Han are deliberately pushing our species toward conflict." Park's scales darkened. "Because together, humans and Door would threaten Han trade dominance. Your adaptability complements our strength. We need to bring this evidence to the full council." "Not yet. These files alone won't be enough. The Han will claim they were fabricated." Park's voice lowered. We need to access the Han delegation's private servers for conclusive proof. Kim stared at him. That would require entering Han territory on the station. It's too dangerous. I know their security patterns. As military liaison, I've had access to their defense briefings. Park's eyes met hers. But I cannot do this alone. I lack the technical skills to extract data quietly. And I lack the physical capability to defend against Han security if we're discovered, Kim added. They looked at each other, understanding the implications. Working together would violate multiple protocols and could be seen as an act of espionage against the Han delegation. If we're caught, Earth could lose its council position, Kim said. And I would face execution for treason, Park added matter-of-factly. The decision is yours, Ambassador. Kim thought about the ice cream, such a simple thing that had somehow become the catalyst for interstellar intrigue. She thought about how quickly assumptions and fear had nearly driven two species to conflict. When do we move? She asked. 2 hours later, Kim and Park approached the Han section of the station. Park wore his full military uniform, which would allow him access to most areas for security inspections. Kim carried a diplomatic package, a plausible reason for accompanying him. The server room is 3 corridors in, second door on the right, Park said quietly. We'll have approximately 8 minutes before the security patrol returns. They passed the first checkpoint without incident, Park's rank ensuring minimal questions. The second checkpoint was unmanned, which made Kim suspicious. This isn't normal, she whispered. No, Park agreed. Be ready to leave quickly. The server room door was unlocked. Another warning sign. As they entered, the lights automatically activated, revealing a space filled with humming equipment, and one Han representative standing beside the main console. Ambassador Sol, Park said, his voice carefully neutral. The Han merchant smiled thinly. Commander Park and Ambassador Kim, how interesting to find you both here. Routine security inspection, Park stated. Of course. Sol's smile didn't reach his eyes. And the human ambassador accompanies you because... Diplomatic observation, Kim improvised. Earth is studying security protocols for our own implementation. Sol gestured to the servers. Then please, inspect away. Though I wonder what you hope to find. Perhaps evidence of Han interference in door-human relations. Kim felt her heart race. They had walked into a trap. We know what you've been doing, she said, deciding direct confrontation was their only option now. Manipulating both our species for your profit. Sol sighed. Profit. Such a limiting perspective. This is about power, Ambassador. Humans and Door, working together, would shift the balance of the Council. We cannot allow that. We have evidence, Park growled. Fabricated data that mysteriously appeared on the human's device. Sol laughed. Who would believe that? Especially after you both are discovered attempting to hack Han systems. Sol reached for what appeared to be a communication device. Park moved with surprising speed, grabbing the Han's arm. You will not alert your guards, Park warned. Sol's expression turned ugly. Too late. The door behind them sealed shut as alarm lights began flashing. Behind Sol, a hidden panel slid open, revealing 2 armed Han guards. How unfortunate, Sol said. 2 diplomats caught in an act of espionage. The Council will have no choice but to sanction both your species. Park positioned himself between Kim and the guards. Ambassador, the ventilation duct, he said quietly. It leads back to the main corridor. I'm not leaving you here, Kim protested. The evidence must reach the Council. Park's scales flashed with determination. Now go. As the guards advanced, Park launched himself at them, creating the distraction Kim needed. She climbed into the ventilation system, the sounds of struggle echoing behind her. Kim crawled frantically through the narrow space, clutching her datapad. Park had sacrificed himself to protect her and the evidence. She wouldn't waste his courage. Emerging from the duct in a public area, Kim ran toward the council chamber. She had to reach Director Joe before the Han version of events took hold. Behind her, station-wide alerts began broadcasting about a security incident in the Han sector. The fate of human-door relations now depended on her ability to reveal the truth before the Han's carefully constructed lies became the official narrative. The emergency council session had been in progress for 30 minutes when Kim burst through the doors, breathless and disheveled. All conversation stopped as heads turned toward her. "Ambassador Kim," Director Joe said, surprise evident in his voice. "We were just discussing reports of an incident involving you and Commander Park." Kim strode to the center of the chamber, aware of the Han delegation watching her with cold eyes. Ambassador Sol was notably absent. "The reports are lies," Kim stated firmly. She held up her data pad. "I have evidence of Han manipulation. They have been deliberately creating conflict between humans and Door for their own benefit." Ambassador Jun rose from his seat. "Where is Commander Park?" "He was last seen with you." Kim's voice softened. "He stayed behind to ensure I could escape with the evidence. He is likely in Han custody." The chamber erupted in voices. Director Joe raised his hands for silence. "These are serious accusations, Ambassador Kim. The Han delegation claims you and Commander Park attempted to steal trade secrets." "Let the evidence speak for itself," Kim replied. She connected her data pad to the chamber's main display system. The files appeared on the large screen. Trade records, communications, and strategy documents. Most damning were recorded conversations between Han merchants discussing how to exploit the Door reaction to ice cream. "They knew," Kim explained. "The Han studied Door biology long before Earth arrived. They anticipated the reaction to sweet foods and planned to use it to drag our species apart." The Han representatives protested loudly, but their objections grew weaker as more evidence appeared. Records showed payments to key Door officials, including some in Ambassador Jun's office, though not to Jun himself. The council chamber doors opened again. Everyone turned as Commander Park entered, escorted by station security. His uniform was torn, and one side of his face showed bruising, but he walked with dignity. "Commander Park," Director Joe acknowledged, "you are accused of espionage against the Han delegation." "I am guilty only of seeking truth," Park replied. His eyes found Kim's across the chamber. "Ambassador Kim has shown you evidence of Han manipulation. I can confirm its authenticity." "You betray your own people," hissed a Door official near Jun. Park's scales darkened. "I served the Door Confederation by preventing us from becoming puppets. The Han have been using us, using our pride and suspicion to control our actions." Ambassador Jun had been silent, studying the evidence on the screen. Now he rose slowly. "I was not aware of payments to my staff," he said carefully, "nor of Han knowledge regarding our biological response to human food." He turned to face Park. "Your methods were extreme, Commander, but your loyalty to our people is not in question." The Han delegation's protests grew louder until Director Joe called for order. "We will need time to verify this evidence," Joe announced. "Until then, both Commander Park and Ambassador Kim will remain under station protection." 3 days later, the council reconvened. The evidence had been thoroughly examined by neutral parties and found authentic. The Han delegation, now led by a new ambassador, sat in uncomfortable silence as sanctions were announced. In light of these revelations, Director Joe declared, "The Council has decided to temporarily suspend Han voting rights and implement trade restrictions until a full investigation is complete." Kim sat beside Park, who had been cleared of all charges. Their actions, while unorthodox, had been deemed necessary given the circumstances. Furthermore, Joe continued, "The Council recognizes that relations between Earth and the Door Confederation were deliberately sabotage. We encourage both delegations to begin fresh diplomatic discussions." After the session ended, Ambassador Jun approached Kim and Park. "Your actions were unexpected," Jun said stiffly. "The Door Confederation acknowledges the deception practiced upon us." "Earth holds no grudge," Kim replied. "We came here seeking friendship with all species." Jun's scales shifted slightly, "including the Door." Especially the door, Kim smiled. Our species are different but complementary. Your strength and our adaptability could accomplish much together. June considered this. Perhaps we should discuss potential areas of cooperation. 1 week later, the station buzzed with news of an unprecedented event, a formal alliance treaty between Earth and the Door Confederation. The ceremony was held in the main gathering hall, with representatives from all species in attendance. Ambassador June and Kim signed the document together, marking the beginning of what both hoped would be a lasting partnership. This is a historic day, Director Joe announced. From misunderstanding to alliance, a model for all species in the Council. At the celebration that followed, Kim found Park standing apart from the crowd, watching the proceedings with a contemplative expression. "You're not joining the festivities, Commander?" she asked. "I am. Observing," he replied. This outcome was difficult to imagine 3 weeks ago. "Sometimes the best alliances begin with the greatest challenges," Kim said. "Your courage made this possible." Park's scales rippled with what Kim had learned to recognize as embarrassment. "I merely did my duty. You risked everything for truth. The Door should be proud of your service." Park was silent for a moment. "Ambassador June has appointed me as military liaison to Earth. I will be working closely with your defense representatives." Kim smiled. "I look forward to that collaboration." Across the room, Han joined them, carrying a tray with 3 small cups. "I thought this moment deserved something special," she said, offering the tray to them. Kim recognized the cups immediately. Ice cream, but in new colors. "I've been experimenting," Han explained. "These are modified formulas that produce milder reactions in Door physiology. More enjoyable, less overwhelming." Park carefully took a cup. "You created new ice cream for Door." "Science should serve understanding," Han said simply. This seemed a fitting symbol of our new alliance. The 3 of them stood together, each holding a cup of ice cream that had once been the center of interstellar tension and was now a symbol of cooperation. At the center of the hall, Ambassador June called for attention. Beside him stood a group of Door warriors, each holding small cups of Han's modified ice cream. "To honor our new alliance with Earth," June announced, "we embrace a human tradition with a Door adaptation." Together, the warriors tasted the ice cream. Their scales shifted through beautiful patterns of blue and purple, but without the overwhelming intensity of before. The hall erupted in applause. "A perfect metaphor," Kim said quietly to Park and Han. "Something from Earth, adapted for Door, creating something new and beautiful." Park nodded. "Perhaps that is the future of our alliance, taking the best of both worlds to create something neither could achieve alone." As the celebration continued around them, the 3 friends enjoyed their ice cream, a simple pleasure that had inadvertently changed the course of galactic politics. Sometimes, Kim reflected, the smallest things, like a frozen dessert, could lead to the greatest changes. And in this case, a sweet misunderstanding had given birth to an extraordinary alliance.